Beautiful. It's all hunky-dory, of course, because I think it's 651 million currently. It's the biggest Pixar film in China, biggest North American opening for an animated film. Did it sort of feel that way as June 17th, the premiere came up? Did you sort of feel it in your bones? Oh, it's all, everything's okay. Or is it always a nervous kind of thing?
It's always nervous.
I mean, content-wise, I think we were starting to feel like, no, this movie works.
Yeah.
We like it. We're very happy with it. And but I've stopped predicting how the rest of the world's going to react. I've learned the hard way about that.
You don't try to, you don't try to second guess that. But I think we have a screening for the crew, kind of a couple weeks before the movie opens, and it's the first time a lot of them have seen the whole thing together and finished, and they bring their families. And that's always, for us, the most nerve-wracking, because these are people who have given their lives and blood, sweat, and tears for the movie. And so the nervous factor for that film, for that showing, is always the biggest. And when that went really well, I think we all just went like, okay, the people that worked on it feel like it's worthy. And that's, for us, like,
stamp of approval. And I've got to say, hunky-dory is the first time I've heard that term used for dory. That's great.
Hunky-dory.
It's hunky-dory.
It's one of the greatest Bowie albums of all time, and a good phrase. So,
it's a good phrase.
It
works perfectly.
Don't mean to interrupt the flow, but
I'll tease that in the next movie. I was thinking too, it's a long road, 2003, Finding Nemo. I know that all along the way there was always this question mark over whether it'll happen or not, and you sort of had to field a lot of these kind of requests. Did it ever feel for you over those years that, well, maybe we won't get to do this, or maybe we shouldn't, or was it ever feel?
I was very vocal. I had no intention of ever doing a sequel.
Right.
I mean, you can go back, I'm sure I'm quoted somewhere online, like, no, there will be no
The sky's not falling, I think, at one point.
There will be no sequel to Finding Nemo. Right. Because it was just not my intention. And so I surprised myself that, because I hadn't watched it in like 7 years, because you see these things so much when they're released, you kind of need a break. And I watched it again in 2011 because we were going to release it in 3D, and I walked out going, the writer and me going, Dory's not finished yet. Oh my gosh! So it was almost out of a parental obligation, or a writer's need to like resolve a character, that I felt like, oh my gosh, I need to go back and I need to finish this. So I wasn't even almost thinking sequel. It was more just like, Dory needs to be finished.
Every time you said that you weren't going to do a sequel, did you hear a low kind of chuckle from John Lasseter at all? I would think
No, to be honest, he doesn't sit around like a mogul going, money, 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 how can we make more? He's just as excited about whatever's the next best idea. And sometimes the idea might be a sequel, sometimes the idea is often original. He's not counting. He's just going by, what's the story? What's the story? So there is no great grand plan pattern.
I mean,
and everybody's going to spend the rest of their time trying to guess it and post it and stuff, but there is none. It's just going for the story.
That said, John is a big fan of our characters. Of all of the Pixar characters in the Pixar world. So nobody is happier to revisit those characters in those worlds than John. I mean, he feels like they're all his own, they're all our kids. And so he's like, oh, we get to go see Dory again and Marlin, so he never expects it or demands it or asks for it, but he's so kind of behind it the minute somebody says they've got an idea. He's like, yes, awesome, let's do it.
Another you wrote the script with Victoria Strauss, I think, but that not cracking that nut that you've got a lead character who's sort of got the concentration of Cheech and Chong, that that they cannot sort of necessarily just remember the plot-driven moment and why we're going forward and all that. That must have been quite the Hall of Mirrors to sort of think, well, of course you wouldn't understand that, so she'll have to say this, and then that would trigger this.
Victoria's the smartest writer I've worked with, and Angus may be one of the smartest co-directors I've had, and Max Brayson, his story crew, and Axel Geddes, my editor. Again, I had the brain power of the best brain power I could ever have for any film, and this film brought us to our knees several times, trying to solve that exact issue of just how to make her be somebody you could follow and actually sense change and desire and having a mission and a goal when she had short-term memory loss. It was so hard.
You could have just watched Keeping Up with the Kardashians. There's a lot of...
we just done that, exactly.
I was doing that. So.
I don't know whether there was any sense also, once we decided to go with it, that real need not to just be a remix, because you've got a set of characters, you've got a situation that's quite, this is a definite, we're underwater, we've got fish, and you would have, I think, put quite a lot into Finding Nemo. You would have explored an awful lot of your ideas. I mean, was there that sort of, I don't know if there was any kind of motto or any kind of sense of what we really need to do here is, I don't know.
Yeah, I think right from the beginning, Andrew was very clear that he didn't want it to be a journey across the ocean again. There was definitely a sense of we've done that, and there are sequels that are successful that do that, but this is very much Dory's story, and so it's all about getting her to where she needs to be able to figure out who she is, where she's from, and what she wants to kind of be at the end of this film. And so there wasn't, it was at its very core a very different premise for the movie. And so, yeah, there was that conscious kind of, anytime we would stray into, well, maybe we'll have a moment or a scene that's a longer kind of protracted scene in the middle of the ocean where they're just kind of swimming along and talking. It was like, it just started to feel like, I think we're being a little lazy about it. So we'd kind of force ourselves to be like, no, let's get past that.
I love the fact that you guys in Pixar and certainly your own work, you kind of embrace the dark. So, with the first Nemo, you got that Bambi moment, you lose a mother. You've got, in WALL-E, it goes off into very kind of Kubrick kind of darkness. And even with stuff like Up, it just becomes like Apocalypse Now. There's a sort of a Colonel Kurtz waiting out in the jungle for them. And that sort of idea of getting the darkness here, whether you've got something like SeaWorld. I know Blackfish changed your kind of take on exactly how this would end, but that idea of just embracing darkness, there's a real belief that kids need it almost, and a story needs it to sort of counter all the cuteness and to make the cuteness be a reward. And
I don't know if the kids need it. I need it.
Okay.
I just feel like I'm not interested in any stories or films, especially if I have to work on them, if they don't have a real truth to it. And truth is a complicated, very gray, non-black and white thing. And it has a lot of bittersweetness and a lot of highs and lows and a lot of scary and fun and a lot of love and hate. And the ocean, that's what drew me to it for the first film, is I thought the ocean, having grown up next to it and with it right as my front door, I had a massive respect for it. I was very scared of it, but at the same time loved playing in it. And I knew that it could take life and it could give life. And so I felt it was a perfect metaphor for a story about fear and family and loss. And so I feel like that's the palette of that world. So it's not so much that I'm thinking like, what's this tone for an audience out there? I think that's how a business person thinks. I think an artist is just looking in, not out, and just going, this is just what speaks to me. And so that's it.
I got to wrap up, but very quickly, you directed a film that I love, Indiana Jones and the Spiders from Mars, otherwise known as John Carter. I mean, was that whole experience of it not connecting the way it should have? I don't know if it put you off, like the whole magic of the world you live in and the way that you live your
the
your
lack
work.
of response and some of the attacks were painful, but the film itself it still brings me such joy. I mean, not only watching it, but any memory I have of making it. It was one of the grandest adventures I was ever on for both Lindsey and I, and if I had been given the opportunity to go back, I would have done it in a heartbeat, regardless of the response. We love it.
Well, rock and roll. I've been given the friendly finger.
Yeah.
Nobody talks about
Thank you.
Thank you.
Sure.
Really sweet. I'll get that out very